Nicole, welcome back to the channel. For today's video, I have the new Siren Songs collection from Knees Lacquer. Also, we have a Rue. The Siren Songs collection will be available starting on July 17th on the Knees Lacquer website. If you are new to BKL offers international shipping from the United States, but they also do have a variety of international stockist pages. As per usual, I'll have links in the description box to all of their stockist pages that I am aware for those of you who are outside of the US. The Siren Songs collection is considered limited edition, but if you are new to the brand, Knees Lacquer does often bring back polishes later on, especially more popular polishes, and in a few months they will have some overpours available from this release. I will talk more on pricing and sale information at the end of the video. While this video is not sponsored by Knees Lacquer did send me all the polishes in this collection for the purpose of me sending them some swatch photos. So I was paid by the brand for my swatch photos, but I was not paid to do this video. I am doing this video because I thought this was a really fun release, as a little spoiler, I suppose. So as always, in the description box, links to where you can pick these polishes up, links to the brand's website, social media pages, my social media pages, and of course, timestamps as well. This is a 12-piece release, so we're just gonna get right into this one because I'm hoping to record this in under an hour. The first polish up is called From the Depth, and Knees Lacquer is describing this one as a sea blue base with a silver light reflective glitter and hollow flakies. The brand does, of course, warn that this will have a slightly thicker formula due to those reflective glitters. From the Depths had a pretty good but definitely thicker formula. I actually went back and forth on whether or not I was going to add some thinner to this polish. I ended up adding a little squirt of thinner when I was doing my second coat for the polish, so you may or may not be able to tell between the first coat and the second coat for my live swatch that the polish is flowing a little bit differently. In my personal opinion, I think whether or not you add thinner to this one is for sure going to be a personal preference thing, but for me personally, I like this one with a little squirt of thinner. I had a whole little meltdown while I was watching this one because the brand is describing this one as a sea blue.
Wrong.
That shit's teal. That is teal to me personally. I feel like this is very much like a beautiful deep teal shade. I kind of see where the brand was going with calling this one a sea blue, because like in my mind, a sea blue can be anywhere from marine blue all the way to something with a bit more of a green tone. I did have some very slight visible nailing with this shade after 2 coats, but it wasn't enough that I thought personally I needed to add a 3rd coat. So I'll call this one a 2 to 3 coater depending on your own personal preference. I think that 3rd coat will for sure cut off all visible nail line, but I really didn't think it was bad enough to warrant doing a 3rd. I love the beautiful twinkles that this shade has from the reflective glitter. The reflective glitter will of course dry down fairly textured because it's glitter. For my full hand swatches, I swatched this one out in 2 coats plus 2 layers of glossy top coat. I didn't pair this one with a glitter smoother. I opted just to do 2 layers of Seche Vive, which is like a gel-like top coat. It's a little bit thicker, and that combo seemed to smooth it out pretty nicely. I thought for sure that this one was going to be a stainer on my nail, so I ended up swatching this one out with 2 layers of a ridge filling base coat and then 1 layer of a peel off base coat. So yes, that was 3 layers of base coat on my nails technically, and I thankfully did not personally experience any staining with this shade. And definitely use the soak off method or a peel off base coat for removal for this one. Scrubbing this one off is going to be hellish. The next polish up is called Hag Summer, and the brand is describing this one as an orchid purple Dumacorn sibling with that same aqua to green to blue shifting shimmer. I feel like the base on this one has a slightly warmer tone of a purple. If the brand had described this one as say like a magenta or a fuchsia, I definitely would believe it. It's a very kind of pinky tone purple. I feel like it also is a bit on the more warmer side. I do feel like, however, on the nail, I don't feel like it reads as a warm tone polish. I feel like that kind of teal to green to blue shifting shimmer really caused the whole thing to cool a little bit. So even though the base seems to be on the warmer side, I don't feel like on the nail, when you build it up, it doesn't look warm tone to my eye at least. Hag Summer also had a fantastic formula, by the way. As is typical for Dumacorn siblings, this one was a bit on the more sheer side, so you do need to build this one up. I did still find that after 3 coats, I did indeed still have obvious visible nail line. I think the amount of nail line in this shade, if you use like a visible nail line blurring base coat, you could in theory get this one to be fully opaque, but I didn't do that for my swatches. I will fully admit I am kind of exhausted by Dumacorn siblings.
Move this man!
But I will say that shimmer really is a stunner. This one's gonna remove super duper easily because it is indeed a shimmer polish. I would still recommend the soak off method because the shimmer is gonna be messy for removal, and I didn't personally experience any staining. My full hand swatches show this one in 3 coats plus 1 layer of glossy top coat. The next polish up is called Enchanted or Entitled, and the brand is describing this one as a semi-sheer steel blue with a fine blue to green aurora shimmer. So I found it kind of funny that the brand described this polish as semi-sheer because there's visible nail line, but Dumicorn and all of its siblings don't get called semi-sheer, even though those generally do have visible nail line. I don't really get it. Anywho, Enchanted or Entitled had a pretty dang good formula. I will say for a semi-sheer polish, I did have very slight visible nail line. I think depending on how thick of coats you go in for, you might be able to get this one opaque. I would say this one was at like 95% opacity. I think if I added an extra thick layer for my third coat, I could have gotten this one opaque. This isn't the most sheerest of sheer polishes I found. I do agree with the brand's description. I would put this in the kind of medium blue family. It's not super gray as far as the steel blue goes. I feel like it's very firmly in that kind of medium blue with just like a slight duskiness to it. The shimmer effect in this polish has a beautiful sparkliness to it. Not quite like glitter sparkly, but it is a very beautiful sparkly shimmer, and it's exactly as... Rue, I need you to not snore, okay? And as is typical for green to blue shimmers, you're gonna get like a green to teal to blue color shift on the nail. As far as the opacity goes, I feel like this is one of those polishes where it's pretty easy to ignore visible nail line. My full hand swatches show Enchanted or Entitled in 3 coats plus glossy top coat, and again, very slight visible nail line on this shade. Super duper easy removal. It's a shimmer. It's just gonna be a little bit on the messy side. The next polish up is called the Sharper the Teeth, and Bee's Knees describes this one as a dark anemone pink with blue microflakes and Bog Dweller magnetic pigment. So FYI, if you don't know what Bog Dweller is a very popular Bee's Knees lacquer magnetic polish. It has a very fine particle silver magnetic pigment, as does this polish. The Sharper the Teeth had a fantastic but definitely thicker formula. Not so thick that I felt they need to add any thinner to this one, but I would say it's like just on the line. I could for sure see some folks wanting to add a little squirt of thinner to this one. I found this one was a 1-coater unmagnetized. I didn't try magnetizing on the first coat. For all of my swatches, however, I will be showing this one built up in 2 coats. For my live swatch for the cat eye effect, that's gonna be in 2 coats, but I added a 3rd coat for the velvet effect. And as is typical for a Bee's Knees lacquer magnetic polish, it's magnetized super duper easily in both effects. I feel like this polish would actually look pretty good with the, what's that circle one called? The circle magnetic effect. Bead, the bead that people like so much. This is gonna be one of those magnetic polishes that unmagnetized, it is a little bit lighter in color than it is magnetized. Unmagnetized is like a deep magenta-y, almost berry-leaning color. I am not, in fact, an expert on anemones, but the ones in Finding Nemo weren't this color. So that's basically all I know about anemones. I lean more strongly to liking this one with the velvet effect, but I think it looked fantastic both ways. I will note, however, if you really want to be able to see those blue microflakes well, I would highly recommend magnetizing the shade. I feel like they get kind of like lost in the sauce if you don't magnetize the polish, but you can definitely see them easily in any kind of magnetic way. My full hand swatches show Sharper the Teeth in 2 coats plus a glossy top coat across all of my nails. This will be a fairly easy polish to remove. I would offer a caution just for staining because this is a fairly pigmented polish, but I didn't personally experience any staining, and super duper easy removal because it doesn't have anything textured in it. That's why. The next polish up is called Lamentation. The next polish up is called Lamentation, and the brand is describing this one as a salmon pink Dumicorn sibling with the same aqua to green to blue shifting shimmer. I don't know about you guys, but I have never seen a salmon in this color personally.
The shade of it all.
Lamentation had a really good formula. I will fully admit though, I do not agree with the brand's color description for the shade at all. This is not in fact a salmon pink. I don't see that like weird shade of salmon that's not the salmon like the fish, and I don't see the salmon the fish color at all. I would describe this one more as like a magenta pink shade. As this is a Dumicorn sibling, it is of course on the more sheer side, so you will want to build this one up. However, I did find it applies really evenly and very smoothly. So if for whatever reason you only want to wear it in 1 or 2 coats, you can definitely do that if you want a more sheer color on your nails. For my full hand swatches, as well as for the live swatch, I swatched this one out in 3 coats. Building this one up in 3 coats does deepen the overall base color on the nail, but I wouldn't say like you need it for like opacity because you're not going to get to full opacity with this shade. So I had very obvious visible nail line with it. I do love how the Dumicorn shimmer pairs with this beautiful fuchsia pinky kind of base. It's a really, really beautiful color combo. As this is a Dumicorn sibling, it will of course have obvious visible nail line. If that bothers you, either skip it or try to use a blurring base coat. Removal is going to be super duper easy because it's just a shimmer, guys. It's just going to be on the messy side. And I did not personally experience any staining with this shade. The next polish up wins for funniest name in the collection. This one is called I Can't Drown My Demons, They Know How to Swim. And the brand describes this one as an ocean blue with emerald green shifting shimmer and a bog dweller magnetic pigment. And again, as a refresher, bog dweller magnetic pigment is a fine particled silver magnetic pigment. Similarly to the last magnetic polish shade, this one was also on the thicker side, but not so thick that I felt the need to add any thinner to it. And it once again was opaque in one coat unmagnetized, but for all of my swatches do show this one built up in two coats, both unmagnetized and magnetized in the cat eye as well as the velvet effect. So similarly to the last time we had this kind of oceanic blue color that I said was teal, I feel like this one is significantly more blue in tone than the last polish. I would in fact describe this one as a slightly green toned blue as opposed to like definitely a teal, but I feel like it's also skirting the line between what is a very greeny blue versus teal in my personal opinion. Formula once again was really fantastic, not just slightly on the thicker side, but not too thick. I didn't need to add any thinner this one, and it also magnetized super duper easily, and once again it was a one coater on me, but my swatches are going to be showing it in two coats. The color of this one unmagnetized was giving me very strong like Easter foil vibes for some reason, but once you magnetize it, the base overall deepens up as that magnetic pigment kind of down to the side. And similarly to the other magnetic shades in this release, I did once again find that the added shimmer that the brand added, you don't see it very well unmagnetized. Like you really have to magnetize this one to easily see the shimmer. And I feel like the shimmer added to the extra like greeniness of this blue tone shade. My full-hand swatches show I Can't Drown My Demons, They Know How to Swim in two coats, both unmagnetized and magnetized in the cat eye effect and the velvet effects. And I once again did in fact hold my magnet over for a whopping 60 seconds.
My God, I hate waiting.
On the magnetization layer as well as for the top coat layer. This is going to remove fairly easy but pretty messily, especially if you scrub this one off. I would use the soak off method or a peel off base coat. I didn't personally experience any staining, but this is a very pigmented polish, so you know, warning, warning, warning. I had on 3 layers of base coat. The next polish up is called Crown of Coral and Pearls, and Bees Knees described this one as a semi-sheer sandy yellow with a fine green aurora shimmer. I am once again going to be disagreeing with the brand's color description for this shade. I do not in fact see sandy yellow with this one at all. I would personally describe this as more of a burnt orange shade. It is not yellow to me at all. Aside from the fact that this one had a weird color description, formula was fantastic. This is another kind of more sheer shimmer, so you will definitely have some visible nail line with this one in 3 coats as well. There is very obvious visible nail line with this shade even when built up in 3 coats. It does apply very evenly, however, so if you don't want to wear this one in 3, you could definitely get away with 2 coats, but it's not going to have the same level of depth of color between 2 coats and 3, but definitely still passable. The shimmer in here is a bit more color shifty. I found it had a green to blue shift with a hint of purple at very extreme angles. This was one polish in the collection that I was kind of surprised that I ended up liking it. I don't know, like when I saw this one in the bottle, I wasn't like super pumped about it because y'all know I'm always just complaining about brands just releasing shimmers. So I didn't have high hopes to love this one, and I guess I forgot that I love me a color shifty shimmer. My full-hand swatches show this one in 3 coats plus glossy top coat. It does dry down a little bit dull, so you will for sure want top coat to make it nice and shiny. I didn't personally experience any stain with this shade, which I am incredibly thankful for because this was actually the last polish that I swatched on Friday evening, and so I ended up wearing this one for the entire weekend because I didn't feel like doing my nails. And because it was the last swatch of the day that I was planning on taking off immediately, I only had on 2 layers of my normal base coat, so like 1 smoothing layer and then 1 peel off layer. And I thought for sure this was going to be a stainer, but I just could not be bothered with taking off my nails. So thankfully they're not orange, so that's something. Removal is going to be super duper easy for this shade because once again, it is a shimmer. It's just going to be on the more messy side if you scrub this one off. The next polish up is called Don't Clip My Wings, and the brand describes this one as a raspberry base with the Dumicorn green shimmer and a bog dweller magnetic pigment. Just like the past couple of magnetic shades, this had a fantastic formula, but it was definitely on the thicker side. Not so thick that I felt the need to add any thinner to this one, but thick enough that it was indeed opaque in one coat, unmagnetized. Similarly to the other magnetic polishes in this release, once again, I found this magnetized super duper easily. If you want to be able to see that beautiful Dumicorn shimmer in this polish, you're definitely going to want to magnetize it. You can kind of see it unmagnetized, but it really comes alive a lot more magnetized. I do agree with the brand with calling this one a raspberry base. I feel like it's definitely in that kind of berry family. It has a very almost purple lean to it. Once again, I found this magnetized super duper easily. For my live swatch, you're gonna see this one built up on its own in 2 coats, unmagnetized, magnetized with the cat eye effect, magnetized with the velvet effect, and then the same goes for my full hand swatches. Removal for the shade is once again going to be super duper easy, but on the messy side if you choose to scrub this one off. Between the magnetic pigment and the Dumicorn pigment, it's gonna just be all over the place. I didn't personally experience any staining with the shade, but you know, it's pigmented, so warning. The next polish up is called Siren Song, and the brand describes this one as a dark teal blue with a pink to gold aurora shimmer. Siren Song also had a fantastic formula, and shocker, I do agree with the brand's color description for this shade. This is indeed a beautiful deep teal shade that has a very strong blue lean. I did notice for as far as the shimmer goes, while I do agree that it has a pink to gold shift, those are gonna be the predominant colors that you see on the nail, I also was able to pick up a hint of green coming in at more extreme angles, however. This is one of the shimmer shades in the collection. I could foresee people getting this one to be fully opaque on them in 2 or 3 coats. Between doing my live swatch and my full hand swatches, when I did my live swatch, I actually got this one opaque in 2 coats on my thumb, but across all of my other nails, I definitely needed that 3rd coat. And on my other nails, this was at like 90% opacity, whereas on my thumb, it was like definitely opaque. I only added the 3rd coat for the live swatch because just for consistency, I did it for everything else. I also will fully acknowledge that I tend to go in a bit more heavy-handed while doing my live swatch, because when I'm doing my live swatches, I tend to be staring right over there at the little screen on my camera and I can't see things so hot, so I tend to go in for thicker coats. My full hand swatches show Siren Song in 3 coats plus glossy top coat. Once again, super easy removal because it's a shimmer, but it's going to be on the more messy side because it's also a shimmer. The next polish up is called Thalassophilia, and I'm probably saying that wrong too. And the brand is describing this one as a mid-tone blue with a blue to purple aurora shimmer loaded with holographic flakes. I'm not even trying saying that again. I tried once, we're not doing it again. This polish had a really good but slightly thicker formula. Not so thick that I felt the need to add any thinner to it, but it was just like thick enough to be like notably thicker. I absolutely love the tone and color of this polish. I do agree with the brand's color description. This is very much a mid-toned blue. Truthfully, I kind of wish we had more polishes that look like this in the collection. I love Bee's Knees polishes with those holographic flakes. They're just always so pretty. I'm gonna call this one a 2 to 3 coater depending on personal preference. For my full hand swatches, I actually went back and forth on whether or not I was gonna add 2 coats or 3 coats. I feel like for personal wear, I would just stop in 2, but I added the 3rd coat because I was just kind of curious to see if there was gonna be any change in like the depth of the base color. I did find that on the 3rd coat, it did deepen up the tone of the blue on the nail just slightly, but it wasn't like a massive jump in depth of the base between 2 coats and 3. If anything, I went from on 2 coats having like stronger hints of nail line, and in 3 coats, there were no hints of nail line. The holographic flakies in here all dry down very, very flat. You're not gonna get any texture, and they're gonna look so beautiful in bright, direct lighting. While the flakies in here are not gonna dry down texture, I don't foresee these being terribly difficult to scrub off if you're removing your nail polish wrong. I would still recommend the soak off method or peel off base coat because I feel like that's still just gonna be the easiest methods on taking this one off, but you could do whatever you want really. But also, I didn't experience any staining when removing this one. The next polish up is called Let the Ocean Take Me, and this is a thermal nail polish. In the off chance you are new to thermal nail polishes, these are gonna change color depending on temperature. And yes, I swatched this one out on a day where it was almost 90 degrees, and no, I did not have an air conditioner in here. So yes, it was very difficult keep showing the cold state. Thanks for asking.
It was a living hell!
And the brand describes this one as a thermal nail polish that is purple when cold and changes to a blue-gray in the warm state. It also has a gold to green aurora shimmer and hollow flakes. Let the Ocean Take Me had an amazing formula. This was a super duper reactive thermal nail polish. I know from my last Bee's Knees video, the thermals in that one were a bit tricky, shall we say. This one was changing on me as I was applying it. It's super duper reactive. My hands generally lean very strongly towards the warm, so showing the cold state is particularly difficult for my hands, as well as the fact that, again, it was 90 degrees. So I would personally describe the warm state as being an almost dingy medium blue, and then the cold state is a deeper medium to a lighter deep purple, and then you have that gorgeous glowy green shimmer plus the hollow flakes. I feel like as you're watching the live swatch, you can for sure see this one changing on, the colors changing on this one as I'm applying it. Like, it's super duper reactive. I had a lot of fun with this polish. I opted to swatch this one out in 3 coats. I'm still gonna call this one a 2 to 3 coater. However, I don't feel like there was a massive jump in opacity or even overall evenness between 2 coats and 3. I largely just did the 3 coats because it felt like a fairly light color for the warm state, and I often find for warm states that I end up adding 3 coats to reach full opacity anyway. So yeah, I did 3 coats. I don't really think you have to though. And this one is fully opaque in both the warm and cold states in 3 coats. Removal for the shade is going to be super duper easy. I would still recommend the soak off method or the peel off base coat, but do what you want. And I didn't personally experience any staining with it. This next polish is a UV reactive polish, aka a solar. So where the last shade changed colors based on temperature, this one changes colors based on exposure to UV light. So the brand describes this one as being a solar nail polish that shifts from a seafoam green to an aqua blue in the UV state. It also has a green shimmer as well as hollow flakes. This one is on the more sheer side, however, so I would recommend building this one up in 3 coats. I did find that even when built up in 3 coats, I could see a little bit of unevenness in the overall base color, but not enough that it bothered me personally. It just kind of looked more like a sheer polish. It didn't look uneven enough that I would call this one patchy, however. I would say it just looks a little bit more sheer, and I feel like my coats weren't super even. I think that was the real issue, as opposed to calling this one patchy. In hindsight, I feel like if I had floated my coats on a little bit with this one, I could have gotten it to look a bit more opaque, but I didn't do that. So I'm gonna apologize now for how I described this one. Nicole of the past described this one as a boogery green.
I said what I said.
I'm sorry. I know that's disgusting, but it just reminded me of boogers. Obviously, you need to see the doctor color of boogers, but it just reminded me of that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry. I absolutely loved the color of this polish in the UV state. I feel like I could definitely pull this one out closer to Halloween time. A boogery, slimy green would definitely be my vibe come fall. Solars aren't fall polishes, so we'll see if I pull it out again. I will say I could take it or leave it for the indoor color of this one. I absolutely loved how this one looked under UV light. For solar polishes, how strong your UV exposure to the polish is going to depend on how deep in color the polish gets. So I found with a good blast of my blacklight flashlight, this got to a really beautiful, like deep steely blue color. When I brought this one outside yesterday, it was towards the end of the day, not quite towards sunset. I think it was about like either 5 or 6 o'clock when I was watching this one. So the UV exposure wasn't like the absolute strongest. I hadn't originally planned on bringing this one outside. I was just gonna use my blacklight flashlight. I had a really hard time showing the UV color with this one indoors. It changes very, very quickly when you expose this one to UV light. Like as soon as you're out of the UV light, it's like that, and it's changed back. So because of that, I did give the brand a heads up that I found this one. It changed back really, really quickly. I set a timer on my camera to take the picture, and I couldn't even get my camera to flash fast enough that I could still see the deep color of the UV one. I'll put my swatch photo here. It almost looks like I'm wearing a thermal because of how uneven the exposure, yada, yada, yada. So I'm conflicted enough. I think this one is a formulation issue for a solar. It did change back like really, really quickly. Maybe in places closer to the equator and full noon, you'll get that nice deep color on the nail. For most of us, we're probably gonna get anywhere from a tealish color to like a little bit of a blue tone color, but not quite that deep in color. Hopefully my camera was able to show in video form. I don't know if I haven't looked at my footage yet. Nothing in here is gonna dry down textured, super duper easy removal. I didn't personally experience staining. I had it on overnight and I didn't have any issues with staining. At the same time as the Siren collection, Knees Lacquer also is gonna have a Facebook group custom for the Facebook group called All the Polishes, which I'll have linked in the description box. In order to purchase this polish, you will in fact have to be a member of the All the Polishes Facebook group. There will be a link in the group that you'll have to like go in there and find, and then that will have a link to the listing where you can add this one to cart. So the All the Polishes custom is called Circle With Me. And Bees Knees is describing this one as a deep blue with an orange magnetic shimmer, as well as dark and light blue light reflective glitter. And the brand does warn, of course, that because this has light reflective glitter in it, it will of course be on the more thicker side. And I do agree with that statement. This one definitely had a thicker formula. Not so thick that I felt the need to add thinner to it, but thick enough to note that it was indeed on the thicker side. I will say I do agree with the brand's color description for the shade. This is a very dark, deep blue shade. I feel like in low lighting, this one's probably going to look like a blue tone black. It is a very dark tone of blue. I will note, however, the light reflected glitter in this polish, I feel like it gives the polish look a very textured look on the nail. When I was doing my full hand swatches for this shade in person, my nails were like glass smooth. But I feel like in my photos and my video, my nails look really textured, even though like physically they weren't textured. So for this one, I would recommend wearing a couple of layers of top coat. For my full hand swatches, I had on one thick layer of Sèche Vive because I was trying to do this one really fast because I didn't want to wait for another layer of top coat. But again, this one has a very textured look on the nail. I will say, however, the reflective glitter here is super duper sparkly. I loved how sparkly it is. I don't know. Light reflective glitter just has like a different sparkle level to other glitters and I can't get enough of it. I will say, however, I'm gonna have to look at my footage again. I don't remember seeing multiple tones of blue reflective glitter. I'll put a note on screen if when I go back and look at my footage, if I can see it. I didn't write it down in my notes, but I also didn't read the brand's description, so I wasn't looking for it, but I did in fact see blue reflective glitter. For my full hand swatches, I swatched this one out in 2 coats plus 1 thick layer of glossy top coat. You, however, will want multiple layers of top coat because my nails were still wet when I took this one off. I will say, however, for the magnetic pigment in here, I wouldn't personally describe it as orange. I feel like it looks more coppery on the nail. I was seeing a copper to yellow with like a hint of green at extreme angles. It is going to be on the more difficult side for removal. I also have a bit of a staining warning for this one because it's a very saturated, deep pigmented blue. And I feel like this one has the potential to be a stainer. So use the soak off method or a peel off base coat. And don't forget, if you care about staining and you love you a peel off base coat, make sure to wear a normal base coat on top of your peel off base coat to help prevent for staining because your peel off base coat ain't doing shit when it comes for staining. Okie dokie, so final thoughts time. I like this collection a lot. I really like that we had a whole variety of finishes. I feel like I say that in every single Bees Knees review that I do. I love it when they do a variety of finishes. And even though I will admit I am kind of tired of Doomicorn siblings, Bog Dweller siblings, all of the siblings and cousins, truthfully, except for Lemon. I am okay with Lemon siblings. But all the rest of them, I'm kind of tired of it. I really like that Bees Knees kind of combine some of their more popular polishes to make like a new hybrid mutant baby. I am here for that. I like the color story of this collection. I liked how everything performed. I really appreciate that Bees Knees finally solved all of their thermal polish issues. I feel like we've had quite a few bumps in the road and I feel like this one was really good. I'm undecided on how I feel about the solar polish. It works, but I feel like it just changed too quickly for me personally, but I'm still gonna wear that one as a pedicure, so. Unfortunately, as far as my top pick goes, it was Thalassophilia. It's right here, and I'll put the text on screen because I definitely said it wrong that time. I don't know, I'm basic. I just really like that tone of blue. I like hollow flakies, and yeah, I like that one the most. As far as pricing and sale information goes, the Siren Song collection goes on sale starting on July 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern time on the Knees Lacquer website. If you pick up the bundle listing of all 12 polishes, that will have a discount of 15%. Otherwise, all the polishes in this collection range in price from $13.50 up to $14.50 for a 15 ml bottle. I'm gonna describe this collection as limited edition because that is generally how Knees Lacquer runs things. However, there will be overpours available for this release in a few months. And Knees Lacquer does have a tendency to bring back polishes as they are able to, mostly polishes that are more popular. There will be a cap of 750 bottles per polish. If you are unfamiliar with that term, a cap on the polishes means that there are a total of 750 bottles for each polish. Unfortunately, when the polishes sell out from that cap, there will not be a pre-order afterwards. The launch period for this collection ends on July 26th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. At the exact time sale of this collection launching, the All the Polishes group custom will also be available. There also will be some overpours available from their Strange Familiars collection, and Knees Lacquer will also have a couple of respawn polishes available titled Blade of the Frontiers, Choo Choo, and I Am an Appetite. I would love to know what everyone else thought of this release. Are you planning on picking this one up? Are you a fan of Bee's Knees Lacquer? Before we end today's video, I want to give a very special shout out to my channel members. Shenanigans, Story Fans, and News, of course, all on the screen right now. If you would like to sign up for my channel memberships, there is a link for that in the description box, or you can click join next to the subscribe button. Channel members in Shenanigans tier or higher, we do have a members exclusive live stream happening today if you're watching it on Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. But as always, my channel memberships are completely optional. Just like the video, comment the video, subscribe if you haven't yet already, and you know, that's fine too. So just thank you all for joining me for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a lovely weekend, folks, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! I feel like y'all have been seeing hints of the shirt. The reason why the shirt wasn't completely visible because this is another one of my like ridiculous shirts. So, hide your kids.
So y'all need to hide your kids.
And again, my kids are used to this nonsense. Okay, you ready for the shirt? Okay, here is the shirt.
Oh, hell no!
The whole thing behind this shirt. So you know how like here in the States, it's kind of popular for there to be shirts that have like foreign languages on them. And there's this whole thing about, you know, how some like the kanji text will say stupid things like fart and weird things when someone thinks it says beautiful. That kind of thing. So apparently in other countries that English isn't the main language there, that's the same thing that happens there, but like with English text. So this shirt, this shirt was inspired by a shirt that was being sold, I forgot what country it was, but it was in an Asian country, and it had this. So like the fisting is supposed to be like a fist bump, but translation errors. I saw this shirt on Tumblr like forever ago, and I had to hunt it down and get it. So that's the story behind the shirt. This isn't, I'm not telling y'all to do weird stuff in your personal lives, but if that's what you want to do, that's on you. We don't kink shame around here. Okay, bye.
When I get high, I ain't looking at the clock, still ballin' like Brian. Yeah, I'm headed to the Bucks, then I'm ballin' like yeah.